Bienvenidos, Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I am Jaime En Fuego, here to present a special encore presentation that originally in 2015 was seen on my then YouTube channel, Jaime En Fuego, which was for a program called ENFUEGOTAINMENT that is in the process of a relaunch. But we thought that for the month of October, the best thing that we could do was bring the entire series coverage of the 1980s and 90s Tales from the Crypt HBO television show over to the horror show, show it to a larger audience so that they can appreciate all of the hard work. Man, did I bust my ass for that month or so, getting every single one of the 93 episodes done and reviewed and spoken about. We did a little of my little trope at the time, which was Bueno, Malo, Feo, which is a good episode, a bad episode, and an ugly episode. I am taking these 3 at a time, and then also a special 3-episode final edition covering all 3 of the films. Yes, there are in fact 3 films. So join me here as we jump into a little bit of a horrific relic that I am very proud to show all of you guys. So until next time, stay scared. ¿Qué onda, boys and ghouls? Bienvenidos to ENFUEGOTAINMENT, a special October presentation that I'm doing on my channel where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge, baby. That's right. Every single day of my life. Damn right. And yeah, we got some Tales from the Crypt, and that is the special thing that I have been doing throughout this entire month of October. 93 episodes of Tales from the Crypt, 31 days in the month of October. Cover 3 a day. Bueno, Malo, Feo. I got the whole series down in the month of October. So befitting for Halloween. And this is the 20th installment. Yeah, kind of like landmark installment status here. And the first episode that I'm covering today, the Bueno, which we're going to just jump right into, is one called House of Horror. The name sounds generic, right? It's totally generic, but honestly, this is one of my favorite Tales from the Crypt episodes ever. This is one I very distinctively remember watching as a kid. You've got a fraternity that is basically hazing these 3 dudes, 2 of which are very notable. You've got Will Wheaton, that's right, Mr. Wesley Crusher. He was right in the middle of his run on Star Trek The Next Generation as Dr. Beverly's son, Ensign Crusher. And now he's doing his tabletop stuff, so yeah, he's kind of stayed in the limelight. He is very nerd-tastic, super cool guy. And then you've also got Jason London, man. Not to be mistaken with his twin brother, Jeremy London, who was actually in Mallrats. I actually, for the longest time, thought they were the same dude. I thought the same guy who was in Dazed and Confused was also in Mallrats. Apparently, it's 2 different brothers. Crazy, right? But yeah, so you got Jason London in this one, who was actually Pink in Dazed and Confused, one of my favorite movies ever, man. And so you've got these 3 guys, and they're getting hazed, as I mentioned, by Mr. Kevin Dillon, and he starred in one of my favorite horror films ever, possibly my favorite horror film ever, the 80s remake of The Blob, but he's playing a very different type of role in that one. He was more of like the rebel without a cause, like hard-edged hero. I'm used to him playing kind of douchey characters, and that's what he's playing in this one. And so he's taking these dudes out to a unspecified location where there's all kinds of haunted stories of how this house is possessed, and you know, there's like a killer there or some craziness. I don't know. It's very kind of cliched spook story, Tales from the Crypt type stuff, but it's so well acted. It's funny. The ensemble cast works so good together. And once you get to the house, that's when things start to like really divert course, and it's almost kind of like Cabin in the Woods-esque, where it's not exactly like Cabin in the Woods, but what you think is happening is not what's happening, and then when you think you know what's happening, then something totally different happens from there, and I can't divulge much about this one beyond that. Written and directed by Mr. Bob Gale, who is a protege of Robert Zemeckis. He actually co-wrote all the Back to the Futures with Zemeckis, and went on to co-write the second Tales from the Crypt film with Zemeckis. But you will hear me getting to that one here in a few episodes. But yeah, I must say this is wholeheartedly, without a diz out, the Bueno today. So let's get into the Malo, shall we? Yes, the bad, the no bueno, I guess you could say. Yeah, funny thing is though, this is one that everybody seemed to love. It's called Well Cooked Hams for whatever reason, but yeah, it takes place in Paris. It's a period piece. I'm not sure if it's the 20s or 30s. I don't know if they ever specify, but long story short, you got a couple magicians, or illusionists, I guess is the better term in this case, one of which is Billy Zane, who most of you may know we go on to see in the first Tales from the Crypt film. Yeah, that's right, Demon Knight. But this is him making his debut in the Tales from the Crypt series, and he's kind of this corrupt illusionist who's not very good at what he does. In fact, he's terrible at what he does, and so he's basically scheming and trying to steal acts from other people, one of which turns out to be Mr. Martin Sheen. Yeah, that's right. And so Martin Sheen's character basically shows him this act with this like box of death, and Mr. Zane's like, I'm gonna jack you, dude, and I'm just gonna start using this for myself. And so, yeah, this is one that won a lot of awards. It actually was Emmy nominated. It was also written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who is a David Fincher protege who wrote Seven. He also did rewrites for Fight Club and for The Game, which is my favorite David Fincher movie. I think very underrated. I personally think it's his best. And he also did work on Sleepy Hollow and Event Horizon. And then you've also got the return of Elliot Silverstein, who we all know did The Reluctant Vampire. But then again, he also did Curiosity Kills in the 4th season. So, you know, a lot of people enjoyed this one. As I said, it was heralded, but I just thought it was kind of boring, you know? And both of these first two episodes came from the Tombs of Tales from the Crypt, the actual book itself, as opposed to one of the other EC books. And so, yeah, I must say, as much as everybody wanted to rave about this one, Well Cooked Hams, man, I feel like it was just a little overcooked, you know, or undercooked, just not cooked to Fuego's liking. So yeah, it was just kind of a boring episode. The payoff didn't even, I saw the payoff coming a mile away, or the twist, I should say. The payoff of the twist, just just not there for me. So let's stop talking about Well Cooked Hams and get into an episode that I thought was going to suck and that actually really surprised me, which is today's Feo. And first and foremost, the reason I wasn't expecting to like this one is because it came from the EC book Crime Suspense Stories number 17. I have not been so big on the shock suspense and the crime suspense stories. They usually don't deal with the supernatural, and this one does not. But yeah, it's usually love triangles or stuff like that, and this unfortunately does fall under some of those tropes. You've basically got Vincent Spano, and he's this cop who is looking into this dude who has killed his wife, and you see that happen pretty much at the very beginning. So I guess that is a very minor spoiler, and I try not to do spoilers in this, but yeah, this guy basically kills his wife, who's played by Tracy Lords, that underage porn star who thought she could act and went on to be in like Crybaby and some other stuff. Not a good actress. I don't know how she ended up getting work. Well, actually, I could guess, but And then you've got David Paymer, who's in this, and you know, he's done a ton of different work. He's been a mobster on Line of Fire, which was a show that actually got him some Satellite Awards, or Satellite Ace Awards, whatever that's called. He's actually nominated for his performance in this. He got a Best Acting nomination at the Cable Ace Awards this year for his performance in this. And he is the aforementioned murderous husband who basically jumps on a train and is trying to escape with his wife's dead body after he does the deed, but this cop is sniffing him out. This cop is trailing him, man, and there's a lot of twists and turns in this one. That's why it's the Feo. Not only is it the Feo because it's ugly about what this guy does to his wife and what he's trying to cover up, but the twist is uglier than I ever would have anticipated. It's really crazy. It's really good. The interplay, the cat and mouse game between these two guys is really rather fascinating, and it's well acted. Doesn't deal with the supernatural, but you know what? This one, as one that just dealt with real people being real monsters, it's great. It's ugly good, man. It's Feo Bueno. Yes, that's right. And yeah, interestingly enough, you have Kevin Hooks directing this, who I remember as being really little and acting in Sounder. Yeah, exactly. Well, at least a lot younger and acting in Sounder, which, dude, Old Yeller, compare that to Sounder, and Sounder is just so much more just incredibly acted and depressing, at least in my opinion. So, fantastic. But the guy went on to start directing in the early 90s, and so he did like Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes, and he did Fled with Lawrence Fishburne, and I know it was one of the bald ones, I can't remember which one, but yeah, he kind of fancied himself as an action director for a little bit and went on to do a number of episodes of Prison Break. So yeah, I don't really think his directing was that good in this one, but hey, The performances were so ugly good, just the ugliness of these two characters going at each other. It's fascinating. It's a very interesting character dynamic and a character study. So there you have it, guys. These 3 episodes for the 20th installment of my Tales from the Crypt coverage were all pretty good. I mean, you know, well cooked hams, it wasn't a bad episode, and hey, you might like it. A lot of people did. A lot of people just thought it was tremendous, you know, and the fact that you had Silverstein coming back, who had done, you know, such a great episode and did all that vintage work on, you know, Twilight Zone and other stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, the House of Horror, the one with the most silly name, man, it's so good. I cannot recommend that episode enough. It's tremendous. So, once again, guys, I extend a grande gracias for you tuning into my horrific coverage here on ENFUEGOTAINMENT. Also, make sure to check out the horror show. That's where I do all of my scarific coverage when I am not here on my own personal channel. So, hit that address below in your browsers and web finders, thehorrorshowchannel.com. We're also on YouTube. And then I've also got my own personal page at Jaime En Fuego, just as you're seeing spelled below. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course here on YouTube. And until we get to talk more fright-tastic Tales from the Crypt awesomeness mañana, adios, amigos.